Maulana bin Amir Al-Syadab. Amma ba'd. Yang saya hormati saudara pengurusi majlis, teman-teman, insyaAllah tidak lagi dia naik volume. Teman-teman yang datang bersama saya, insyaAllah. Belum tutup lampu lagi. Saya pun nak tengok. Teman-teman yang datang insyaAllah bersama-sama saya, yang saya ikuti sebenarnya, Dr. Hazrin dan Dr. Hilmi bersama pasangan masing-masing, Dr. Iliana dengan Dr. Mawaddah, serta saudara Syarizat selaku pengurusi atau chairman of Imam Volgograd, saudara Syamil selaku pengurusi MSA, I think it means Malaysian Students Association, ya. Saudara teman seperjuangan dalam bidang perubatan ini, uhikum bitahiyatil Islam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pertama sekali saya sangat bersyukur kepada Allah SWT. Walaupun saya sebenarnya tidak dijemput, I am not the invited speaker, tapi saya menjemput diri saya sendiri because I've always wanted to come to Russia to see the situation dekat sini, ya, because the Russian graduates are very popular in Malaysia. As someone has been in medical education for more than 20 years, saya punya life, I almost know nothing other than education and being with the students. Dan saya sangat rapat dengan medical students lah, maknanya baik di Cyberjaya University ataupun di medical students in general. Saya biasa buat pre-departure preparatory programs untuk students before they fly, before they go anywhere. My daughter used to study medicine in England. I used to do road shows in England to talk to medical students and give them some experience to share. And I also like to listen to students, what they feel and what they think is right or wrong about medical education. The whole idea of establishing Cyberjaya University College of Medical Sciences are actually based on feedback from medical students. It is a dream come true for me. Sebenarnya menubuhkan sebuah college universiti perubatan adalah impian saya, my dream when I was a medical student. Some of you know this story and I don't want to bore you, but I'm going to mention it anyway. When I was like in second year medicine, second year was like your first year kat sini after pre-university, we were doing dissection in the dissection hall, and I was bored, I was dead bored, and I was feeling that medical studies was full of macam intense studies that I don't enjoy, yeah. I sat down, left the cadaver and sat down beside my anatomy professor, and I mentioned to him, I said, my dream is to establish a medical school where all the students enjoy medical studies. There's very little examination and you are not worried about macam exam around the corner and how much you've got to remember. Life is about having a nice time. And yet, after 5 years, you can still graduate and become a very competent and good doctor. So, I was very surprised because instead of ridiculing me, my professor of anatomy said, when you have that medical school, tell me, I will join you. 20 years after we had that conversation, we started Cyberjaya University College of Medical Sciences, and he actually joined us after 20 years as a part-time lecturer. And one by one, my lecturers started to join us in Cyberjaya University. My pharmacology head of department when I was in third year, now is a lecturer in our university, and I give my lectures and he will sit at the back and listen to me giving my lecture to my students. Maknanya that is an honor to me lah. Latest is like a month ago, my former orthopedic head of department came to Cyberjaya to be the president of the university. So it's my teacher coming to a university that I established together with my friends, and it is actually a dream come true. And not only the dream came true for me and a few friends initiating a medical school, tetapi having students who have fun all the time has become a reality. We talk among our lecturers and say our students have fun, too much fun. I don't know when they study. They are good in everything to do with fun except their studies. But we're changing all the time. We do curriculum review. We see what is boring for students and we get rid of all these boring topics. We get rid of all the unnecessary things. We examine and ask questions only which are relevant for you to know as a medical doctor. Mana yang tak penting tu, we criticize each other, we scold each other for setting too difficult a question, so that the question eventually becomes easy and passable, insyaAllah. So, and we have long weekends. Saturday is a no-go for any teaching activities. Sunday is an enjoyable day. Everyone goes home by Friday afternoon and have a nice time with the family and come back before class on Monday, depending on wherever you have to come back, right? But alhamdulillah, I'm living this enjoyable life. I have students as my children. They come to my house and have dinner almost every week, and have fun. And we always have a nice time. We're actually planning a visit to Vietnam in August, and we're actually fundraising by the week. Every other week is a program yang kita jemput macam-macam lah orang Syam, kamikaze lah, the PUs, the imam mudas and everything, and you don't want to know all these crazy things that my students do. Tapi I'm here on a mission because I really want to know what happens to you as students, and whether you're having a nice time, whether your learning condition is good, whether the summer are warm, I don't know. The winters are surely cold and I chose not to come during winter. But alhamdulillah, looking at what is happening here, I'm actually really very macam terharu lah, maknanya that you all are doing well lah, insyaAllah. Maknanya I don't find any major worries of education that I can see in my few days here. And most important adalah the community is very warm and you love each other. You have a lot of time to be together. Macam macam dekat Malaysia, if you study in Malaysia, weekends people don't meet each other. Semua nak balik kampung, nak pergi somewhere apa semua. Now you have long weekends to spend together and have a nice time among yourself. And everyone is a family. You depend on each other. Kalau rasa down pun, inilah dia kawan-kawan yang kita nak bersedih bersama, bergembira bersama. And cherish this moment, because once you graduate and go back to Malaysia, you will not have this, betul ya? You will not have this brotherhood and sisterhood for the rest of your life. Betul? Betul. You start to get married and your only friend is your wife or your husband. Habis. You will not be gathered in a class of 100 or 50 anymore for the rest of your life. So while you are here and while you are close to each other, please cherish this moment. Okay, so I've got a few slides to show, and there are lessons from these slides that I would like to pass down to you, and it depends on you how you interpret. And now is the time to switch off this. Okay, so that you don't see me anymore. Okay, so what I'm going to present are a list of data. Data ini adalah recent publications. And as a dean of a medical school, I get privileged to this data. You tak boleh copy apa semua, benda ni keluar OSA nanti you kena tangkap. But these are important data because this is what your seniors, when you start working, will have an impression on you as junior house officers. Okay? Can I have the first slide, please? Okay. So, if you, of course, you cannot see at the back. I will tell you. Dekat hujung tu, the bottom line adalah 1998. And this one adalah 2013. And this graph tells us the number of house officers registering for work in every year that is shown downstairs. So bermakna for a long time, from 1998 sampai 2007, the number of house officers are almost the same. There is no So tak ada actual increase in number of house officers yang significant. But from the year 2007, which is just recently, sampai lah the year 2013, sampai the year 2013, there is an exponential rise in the graduates of medical school, which means that the number of house officers reporting for duty as a house officer has increased tremendously for the last 8 years. Okay, so what is your interpretation? What does it mean to you? Yeah, to me, number one adalah there is suddenly an increase in the interest of being a doctor. Suddenly, masa zaman saya dulu, semua orang tak nak jadi doktor, takut darah, takut muntah, takut mayat, apa semua. But now everyone is obsessed. Like 80% of orang yang sit for SPM nak jadi doktor for some reason or another. You ask this question, why macam you all nak choose medicine? Because macam marah kata you must do medicine, if not you don't get scholarship. Ada begitu. Why? I would like to think that we in our generation have shown so good an example that you all want to follow us. Maknanya, but there has been a great demand and increase in minat sampai orang gila-gila sangat nak jadi doktor. This one namanya overseas universities graduate, dengan this one local university graduate. So this one local university slowly increasing, tapi yang buat this exponential rise adalah the overseas graduate. Bermakna ramai sangat orang nak belajar medicine, dan people find their ways to become a doctor and go everywhere in the world, including Russia, including Indonesia, based on affordability. And you will see that this exponential rise will increase in the years to come, because Egypt is starting to graduate their products in big numbers. When it was macam I was a medical student, berapa orang pergi belajar kat Egypt? About 10 or 15 per batch. But now you're looking at 100 if not thousands per batch. And even after the crisis, not many people came back to Malaysia. People are staying there and wanting to graduate. I've got 2 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, 2 daughter-in-laws and 1 cucu dekat Egypt, hoping to graduate this year. So maknanya this is the, so how do you interpret this data? What does it mean to you? To me, Alhamdulillah, the future of health in Malaysia is good. There will be many doctors. There will be people taking care of health of anyone who is ill. Betul tak? Betul? Is this the truth? Yes, it is. Tetapi, to the people in the Ministry of Health, next slide, kan, there are no more places for housemen to do their training. This is the first impression. Apa dia? In 2009, there are 38 hospitals yang orang buat housemanship. Then despite the exponential rise in graduates, the increase in hospital yang boleh buat housemanship daripada 38 jadi 41 saja. Then in 2013, no increase, 41 jadi 42 saja. So the question sekarang ni, if I am the Director General and the Ministry of Health, where am I going to put these graduates? Where are they going to work? Should I make a strategy so that orang yang graduate ni semua jadi menganggur? Patut? Tak nak menganggur? Siapa nak menganggur? Okay, maknanya by hook or by crook is either I try to trick everyone in believing that from the day you register sampai you fill in your forms and go for a SPA interview, sampai the actual day that you get a letter saying that you must report for duty, it is becoming longer and longer. Faham tak? Dulu SPA form saya isi hari ni, minggu depan saya dah start kerja. But now you take like 3 honeymoon months before you actually start your housemanship. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Okay, there are more reasons that I will tell you that is worrying. Maknanya kenapa semua orang tak boleh menganggur? Kenapa orang yang graduate dari MBBS tak boleh menganggur? Orang yang graduate engineering boleh je menganggur, 2 tahun tak ada kerja, betul tak? Orang yang graduate IT boleh je macam who gives a damn, dia orang tak ada kerja, tak ada siapa yang risau. Kenapa orang yang graduate MBBS mesti jadi houseman within a few months? Apa ya? Lupa? I don't care if you lupa, suka hati you lah, your fault lah, why you lupa? Sebenarnya ada akta dalam undang-undang kerajaan bahawa semua orang yang graduate MBBS mesti dapat kerja. Ini adalah undang-undang Malaysia. Faham tak? Selagi mereka tak ubah undang-undang ni, do you know this exist? There's an act. This an act. Semua orang doktor adalah, kerja doktor adalah satu pekerjaan critical. That's why you get critical allowance as a doctor. Dan sebab criticalness or whatever you want to call it, semua orang yang graduate MBBS mesti dapat kerja. Itu adalah undang-undang negara sampai hari ini. So maknanya kalau saya Menteri Kesihatan, saya tengah pening kepala sekarang ni, macam mana nak bagi kerja kat semua orang, sedangkan hospital tak ada, sedangkan peluang pekerjaan adalah kecil. Let us look at the other side. Are you following me? Yes. Is it a good lecture? Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the figures again. Ni bukan saya main-main. This is published by the Minister of Health. Ada, oh, dekat Russia dia tak nampak. Okay. So ada apa bulan March ke sampai February 2013, 2014. So baru lepas a few months ago ni, this data is published just a couple of months ago. This is latest from the Ministry of Health. Okay. What does it mean by having too many graduates? Now, the total number of posts as a house officer di Malaysia ni adalah 10,803, 10,803 position. Why is it like this? Wallah alam, the government can afford to pay this number of housemen saja lah at this point of time. Okay, so as of 31 of December 2013, 9,900 of that 10,000 has been filled. Maknanya 92%. There are only 830 posts yang tinggal. Tetapi we are graduating 4,000 to 6,000 MBBS products every year. Okay. As of February 24, 1,000 odd medical graduates have been interviewed by the Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Awam, dan kerja kosong cuma 831. Betul tak? So as of February 2014, mesti ada 170 orang yang tak ada kerja because tak ada post sebagai houseman. So selagi orang yang houseman sekarang ni tak graduate jadi MO, selagi tu post tu tak ada, dan you kena tunggu kerja untuk kerja sebagai houseman. Kerja memang dapat, tapi maybe tak besok, tak lusa, kena tunggu orang either mati. Okay, houseman dia kerja tu tak nak mati, atau dia commit suicide, ataupun dia jadi MO lah. Macam kena tunggu dulu lah. Tak pernah berlaku dalam sejarah houseman. Houseman selalu tak cukup. Bila you minta memang terus dapat, but for the first time this year, kerja tak cukup. Okay. So if you are a politician, you said, why can't the government create more posts? We are in need of doctors. Betul tak? Depend on which side of the government you are, opposition ataupun pro-kerajaan. That is actually the solution. Bermakna you know that there are macam more graduates, you create more posts. You create hospitals, and more hospital yang ada housemanship. Janganlah increase dari 38 hospital sampai 41 tambah 3 hospital je. Buka hospital daerah semai supaya banyak lagi peluang pekerjaan sebagai houseman. Tapi buat masa ni tidak ada inisiatif ini. So there will be a struggle on job application when you graduate soon, right? Whenever you graduate. Okay? Most of the local universities graduate students bulan April, May, June, July. These 4 months, WIA sampai UKM apa semua. So permintaan houseman yang paling tinggi adalah 4 bulan ini dalam sepanjang tahun. Dan it is also 4 bulan inilah yang houseman banyak yang graduate jadi MO. Okay? But if you look at the figures adalah sekarang ni at any one time there are almost 4,000 housemen yang kena extension for some reason or another. So sekarang ni makin ramai orang graduate, dan makin ramai houseman yang lambat jadi MO because of mistakes that they do as a house officer. So now the situation is becoming more and more critical, and this is now and the next few years when you graduate. And so I'm showing you the facts. So they are still waiting. Next slide. Okay. Before we go to this slide, so there are proposals for 2014. Nanti saya akan tunjuk. I hope I have that slide. More data. So the housemanship training juga dah lah critical dan tak cukup tempat. They have extended the duration of houseman from 1 year to 2 years. Dah lah lebih lambat houseman jadi MO, lebih banyak lah tak ada tempat kosong lagi. Lebih kurang tempat kosong. Maknanya kurang lagi tempat kosong. So now, before 2008, there were only 5 postings. Masa saya jadi houseman, cuma 1 tahun sahaja. And I can choose between these 5 posting mana yang saya nak buat. Masa tu saya tak nak tengok sangat ONG, saya buat medical pediatrics 3 months, surgical orthopedic 3 months. After 1 year I jadi MO dah. Tak jadi MO houseman lah sangat. Tapi kena campak ke district hospital yang wajib tahu ONG, so saya balik-balik buat housemanship di peringkat MO for 3 months just to get exposure for ONG. So saya dapat cover all areas. From 2008 onwards, they increased the number of posting to 6 posting. So every over 2 years, dan include emergency medicine as an obligatory posting. So houseman tak boleh habis housemanship without doing another posting called emergency medicine. And then in 2010, they increased the 7 posting. So now you can choose either emergency medicine or you can do anesthesiology. Okay, so maknanya sekarang ni you can choose. Okay, in 2014 they are thinking of introducing 2 more postings, iaitu psychiatry dengan primary care. And saya advise, if your turn nak jadi houseman ni, please choose primary care as one of your posting. It will be more relaxing. You get out of the hospital environment, you kerja kat klinik kesihatan, which is good. You see outpatient saja, no long hours on call, apa semua, everything. It is more relaxing. And you do this for 3 months. Out of the 2 years, you do this for 3 months. Jadi, so orang buat psychiatry juga? Tak ya, psychiatry to me macam is a subspecialty lah. You must be really loving it to do it lah. But people, because the number of cases of psychiatry is on the increase, so competency of being a doctor adalah you need to recognize a psychiatric patient. So macam doing housemanship adalah sangat penting lah, maknanya to know psychiatry. So these are the changes yang ni belum implement lagi, but they are hoping to implement it by this year, insyaAllah. So, okay, next slide. Until 12. I don't want to. Okay. Now we look at the bad prognostic markers of housemanship. Okay. Ni data adalah, data ni gelap because saya scan. Saya tak dapat pun even the soft copy daripada Kementerian Kesihatan. So saya suruh saya punya PA scan. Inilah dia hasil scan yang tak bagus cantik. Tak nak. Okay. So ada PPS tu maknanya houseman lah, pegawai perubatan siswaza. Okay. Dalam the year 2013 ada sebanyak 128 houseman yang dia baru je kerja, nak tukar hospital, tukar tempat kerja, apa semua, everything which is seen as not good lah, macam tak best lah, apa ni kerja tak selesai sampai. So this is a bad prognostic marker. Di antara semua orang yang tukar tempat, kebanyakan orang yang tukar tempat ini, which is 67%, adalah lulusan daripada luar negara. Russia kat sini, Indonesia kat sini. Maknanya you carilah tempat you kat mana-mana. Dekat sini yang kecil ni adalah lulusan daripada dalam negara, maknanya graduate daripada local university. So the impression that people get, this is what I'm trying to say, orang yang senior dalam your seniors nanti, your medical officer, your specialist, your consultant kat hospital dah dapat gambaran kalau you ni budak luar negeri ni graduate je, asyik-asyik nak tukar hospital, will cause problem to me. This is the impression that people get. Kalau oh you nak tukar hospital lah, mesti you dari Russia. Oh, mesti daripada Indonesia. Oh, macam tu kan. So maknanya that bukan kita sengaja ajar orang supaya fikir macam tu, tetapi data macam ni buah mulut jadi macam rumors di kalangan your senior. Bermakna if you are graduates from Russia, you got to macam change this impression because the data is showing otherwise. Faham tak? That's my message. Bukan datang jauh-jauh nak kutuk orang Russia, bukan. But it is a challenge for you. Inilah niat saya. Bila datang sini, cakap, okay, you know, I'm facing this challenge that my seniors might have a wrong impression on who I am. Just because I graduated from Russia and just because my seniors did not do a good job to give a good picture of the graduates from Russia. Maybe I don't know. But these are data. Next. So kita tengok daripada orang yang nak tukar hospital tadi, majority adalah daripada graduate Indonesia dan Russia. Local universities pun ada yang nak tukar, tapi tak seramai graduate daripada overseas. Sekianlah dalam chart ni kan. Ada yang daripada Mesir, daripada India, apa semua itulah. So ini data yang dipublish oleh Ministry of Health. Bukan saya buat survey saya sendiri. Next slide please. Okay, so if you look permohonan pertukaran houseman tadi, macam yang tinggi-tinggi di histogram ni adalah daripada Russia dengan Malaysia. Bukan daripada Volgograd lah, ada part of Russia. Bila saya pergi kat Moskow pula, saya bukan dari Moskow lah, mungkin Volgograd ni. Okay, so but these are the data, and these are told to head of department, pengarah hospital, gapo-gapo semua, everything. So they have impression yang they make impression based on this. So you have got to be careful dan macam show that you are not part of this statistics lah. Okay. So saya pause dekat slides ni, and I got an honest advice for all of you. Masa saya muda-muda sikit lagi, and people say, please advise me where to do housemanship lah. Saya nak buat kat HKL ke, Kelang ke, atau Batu Pahat ke, Johor Bahru ke. So I will ask you, do you like to be trained, exposed to clinical punya skills, be exposed to some subspecialty macam neurosurgery lah, neurology lah, semua. Kalau you nak macam ni, minta HKL. Wah, semua subspecialty ada. You want to be academic, nanti jadi lecturer, academician ke, minta university hospital. Wah, macam tu. Saya punya advice macam tu. Kalau you ni malas, ingat nak macam jadi MO je, buka GP ke, you minta lah hospital ulu-ulu macam Batu Pahat, macam Kuala Pilah ke apa. But I have changed my mind. Totally, saya punya final year students, saya kata dengan diorang, what do you need to do? You need to plan to survive housemanship. Itu je. If you think maknanya you tak pernah ambil darah, you tak pernah set IV line, apa semua, tiba-tiba expose dekat HKL yang you have got to set 25 IV line in the whole morning sahaja, maknanya you jangan minta HKL, because you will die. You will not want to become a houseman after 2 weeks. Tahu tak? Maknanya don't kata, oh saya ni tak tahan lah, saya nakkan banyak sangat prosedur semua, you minta, but you last for 2 weeks and then you quit dan jual Zulian, faham tak? So maknanya don't take an unnecessary challenge. What does it mean to you? If you quit after 3 months of housemanship, you will never ever get annual practicing certificate. You know what it is? It's license to practice as a doctor. The only way you can get your APC, which is renewable every year, adalah to complete housemanship. So what is the objective? It's not Kuala Pilah or Batu Pahat or KL, but to get your APC. Jangan seorang pun daripada siapa yang datang hari ni yang akhirnya tak dapat APC. I pray for you. Please. You decide nak jual Herbalife ke apa ke after you get your APC. Faham tak? So jangan tak survive houseman. So you ask yourself, and I don't have an answer for you. Nak minta apa, which hospital? And I tell all my students yang final year nak graduate a few months time ni, I said, you ask yourself, are you up for being a Rambo, kerja siang malam tak apa, every other day on call apa semua? Okay lah, you ask lah HKL or Hospital Ipoh ke, Hospital Penang ke, yang the busiest subspecialty semua, everything, you minta lah. But you kena sanggup, no life, no nothing, no apa semua, you kerja saja for 2 years, you got nothing but doing work. Tak kan? Orang kata kat hospital ni, the hierarchy, you know kan? Mula-mula pengarah hospital, lepas tu consultant tu specialist tu registrar, MO, lipas, cicak. Bawah daripada sikit daripada cicak tu, houseman. Maknanya you kena sanggup jadi lebih hina daripada cicak kat hospital tu. Okay, then you're okay. Faham tak? What does it mean to work in hospital daerah Kuala Pilah? Means you are in internal medicine department lah. Berapa specialist ada kat hospital tu? 2. So you got only 2 bosses to answer to. Faham tak? Life is much easier. I think, saya cakap betul-betul because I follow my graduates when they graduate. Saya tengok dia pergi mana, and I get feedback from them. Some of those yang betul-betul just cukup makan masa exam, bila tiba pergi dekat hospital daerah, jadi houseman contoh. Wah, terkejut otak saya. Oh, betul ke? Dulu nak pass pun susah, tapi bila houseman jadi houseman contoh. Why? Because like macam, you know, you do your job, you pandai kipas the 2 bosses that is around. Housemanship is what? Kipas-kipas kan? Fail to kipas your boss to extend, finish. Betul, no joke, serious. Maknanya first thing you need to know on day 1 of working as a hospital lah, apa bos saya suka. Tiap-tiap hari kita tanya IO chart, besok pagi you sedia IO chart. Tahu tak IO chart apa? Input output chart. Maknanya besok pagi you kena sediakan output. Bukan mengipas tu, tapi just to do what your boss likes. Dia suka renal profile. Tak pasal tak, orang yang hard suka pun renal profile. Okay, besok pagi you dah hafal lah. Before dia tanya apa pasal renal profile yang dia orang apa-apa. Houseman contoh. Faham tak? You think you are mad. People text me, saya mesti kata, kenapa lah saya punya specialist ni heart failure, dia nak tanya renal profile. Tak apa, jawab saja, no problem. I got no answer to it. Dia suka. Oh, dia tak buat. So the first day you are house agent, you must know your boss tukar jadi apa yang dia suka. Gelaran orang senior ni berubah. Kalau student tu first year, second year, dia panggil saya prof macam tu. Bila dah masuk clinical, dia panggil doktor. Bila dia jadi houseman, semua orang bos. Betul lah Dia punya senior semua bos. Ya bos. Kalau dia nak order teh tarik pun, bos, teh tarik satu lah. Kedai mamak pun bos lah. Dia punya bahasa tu dah lekat habis. Everyone is boss dekat hospital. Okay. So maknanya make a wise choice on where you are going to do your housemanship. Make a wise choice. Jangan jadi, don't try to be a hero yang collapse after 3 months, please. Because what do you need? Everyone from the front row sampai to the back, front row dah cover dah. Maknanya you need to have your annual practicing certificate. Regardless of what you want to do, you nak jadi pensyarah anatomi ke, pensyarah fisiologi ke, get your annual practicing certificate, which is a license for you to work as a clinician. Tengok patient, buat something yang halat, macam halat maknanya betul, you're qualified to do. If you don't have APC, you cannot even sign an MC. It's illegal for a house officer to sign MC. That is the truth. It is also illegal untuk sign death certificate. Tak boleh. Houseman tak boleh sign death certificate because your APC adalah sijil amalan perubatan sementara. Dia ada bracket kat situ, sementara means a provisional APC saja. So do your best to apply to a hospital that you think you can survive for 2 years. As someone who is worse than a cicak and a cockroach, yeah? Okay, next slide. Okay, again, apa dia menjalani penilaian terakhir? Menjalani penilaian terakhir adalah kalau you haprak sangat jadi houseman, your name akan pergi ke Malaysian Medical Council. There will be a council dalam MMC tu, a body yang akan menilai bahawa you ni layak jadi doktor ataupun tidak. And this is called penilaian terakhir. Maknanya kalau gagal terakhir tu, maka you will be chucked off, dipecat daripada jawatan. And you can never be a doctor for the rest of your life. Faham tak? So, siapa top of the list, Ukraine dengan Russia yang telah dipecat daripada jawatan sebagai doktor. Kan? Maknanya Russia punya bilangan lebih tinggi yang dipecat daripada the whole of Malaysia. Okay, betul lah, Russia besar, Malaysia besar. Kalau ada 31 university college perubatan di Malaysia, termasuk IPT dan IPTS, semua graduate daripada 31 universiti ni campur, still lagi kurang daripada graduate Russia yang telah dipecat daripada jadi doktor. So this is the data yang dikeluarkan oleh Kementerian Kesihatan. Okey, bermakna apa dia sebab orang dipecat daripada jawatan? Sebab incompetency at work, attitude problem. Patut ada dekat hospital tapi pergi shopping kat pertama kompleks, ataupun cari-cari tak jumpa, hantar polis di rumah pun dia dah pindah rumah. So many reasons. Ya, maknanya sampai benda-benda semua unreliable. You expect them to come to work but they are never around and they are not contactable. Pecat akhirnya. Ya, maknanya we are worried because our graduate pun ada dalam this one. Tak, tapi one so far. Also Russian product. Ya, maknanya we had a student who actually was from Russia and transferred credit to Cyberjaya University, struggled for 5 years and graduated with a lot of problems, repeated 1 year dan sebagainya. Bila dia graduate, dia buat hal as a house officer dan dia dipecat. Maknanya ada kena-mena dengan Russia juga. So but the MNC contacted me as the dean. You baru graduate 4 batch dah ada seorang kena buang kerja. Ayo, sedih. Ya, maknanya sedih. But I don't want to hide the fact that we also graduated orang yang kena buang kerja. Ya. So, brothers and sisters, these are real data, and these are things that when people see, ayah, you are graduate Russia ke? Ayo, look at the statistics. You start off having to prove yourself. Versus orang yang graduate daripada a reputable university, you really need to be haprak to go down. But now you start from somewhere that you need to prove. Even though I graduated from Russia, but I am as good or better than other graduates. This is what our graduates had to face. Because orang kata, apalah saya universiti ni, macam, tak ada dulu bus stand je buat universiti. People lalu dekat our college tengok parents datang, dia tengok je rupa macam ni, tak jadilah hantar. Don't even bother to datang nak tengok how the classroom look like. They just drive away. Kan, maknanya orang McDonald's tu drive tu, dia drive away. You don't want to study, just looking at outside je, apalah kata ni belalak, aku tak nak. But we gain reputation to be one of the best medical schools in Malaysia. It needs hard work, it needed hard work. We need to prove ourselves. What I mean? That's where we started. Dan siapa yang sama tinggi 26% juga adalah graduate daripada Indonesia. So these are the two. Maknanya kan tengok yang mini drama tu kan, nama dia apa? Budak Baru. Tak, not a good drama lah, tak best lah. But macam it is, and I don't want to tell you the story. The lesson is not good lah. Maknanya just do anything walaupun illegal, tipu creatinine level semua asalkan survive housemanship. That's not my message, please. Next. Okay. So penilaian terakhir again, the last macam ni nak kena buang. Also kat sini from local universities adalah AIMS, tinggi sekali adalah IMU. Kena IMU punya produk pun betul dinilai untuk kena buang kerja juga. Okay, next. Saya dulu I was a lecturer in IMU before we got a chance to start Okay, so this data adalah bilangan houseman yang meletak jawatan. Bukan kena buang tapi dia letak jawatan. Aku tak nak jadi doktor lagi ya. Dia dah dapat kerja baru ya. Dia tak nak jadi doktor lah. Kenapa tak buat MD dulu? Aku tak tahu mak bapak paksa marah suruh pergi, aku pergi. Aku pun tak tahu macam nak buat. Semua sudah letak jawatan. This is 2000. Wah, you boleh baca eh? Oh, 2011 2012 dan 2013. Dia macam orang ketuk dekat atas batu je. So mula-mula 40 orang dia letak jawatan, kemudian 76, kemudian jadi 169. The number of people resigning from the job is increasing in number, and I don't want you to be one of the statistics. Okay, maknanya stay in the profession but do what you like. Nanti we will tell what you can do within the profession. So maknanya it has increased from 1% to 3.39%. So looks small tapi actually it is gigantic in phenomenon. Dari segi phenomenon statistics it is quite a big number. Lagi this is the number from within 2013 saja. In January, 1 bulan ke 19 orang tak jawatan, terus semua sampai in December 23. Masa winter yang paling banyak orang letak jawatan. Depressed. Okay, next. And most of orang yang letak jawatan adalah daripada again Indonesia, Russia dengan Ukraine. Orang yang local university yang paling banyak letak jawatan daripada Manipal, Melaka dengan UKM. Orang UKM ni orang skor 4 flat, 3.99 apa semua pun bila kerja letak jawatan, finish. Maknanya why do people letak jawatan agaknya? Kenapa? Stress Depressed is what people say lah. I'm depressed, saya letak jawatan, saya tak jadi doktor. What is the actual truth? No patience. Tak ada patient. Ada banyak sebab patient. Tak ada kesabaran. Oh tak, taklah macam kata abang ni kan. Betul, agak-agak lah. Kalau lah macam you put yourself in a condition, life in Russia is so teruk, aku tak nak belajar lagi dalam Russia ni, aku nak balik dekat Malaysia ni. Apa sebab dia? Dunia. Itulah takkanlah akhirat pula. Apa? Dunia? Oh, Zulian. Oh, okay. That one sounds better. Number one, you are from Y generation. Masa saya dulu, X generation ni, I got no other option, faham tak? Kalau saya resign dan keluarga saya miskin, saya tak tahu apa nak buat, makan pasir, I cannot survive. But you, most of you, macam I'm not saying all, tapi ramai orang come from a reasonably well-to-do family. Bukan kaya raya, tapi maknanya kalau you resign pun mak bapak akan tanggung you sampai bila-bila lah. You got this safety net. Faham tak safety net? Maknanya kalau you jatuh, ada orang yang akan sambut. Kalau saya jatuh dulu, hempas mati terus. My father died when I was 11 and my mother said, you koyak yourself. I got nothing to help you. But the semangat perjuangan that is do or die tu dah tak ada sangat pada Y generation. Number one, the temptation of giving up is also very high in Y generation. Why? Because from birth you are playing games. Betul tak? Bila main game ni, bila macam Mario tu jatuh, you always can start again. Betul tak? Maknanya jatuh lah tak apa lah. Macam you know, it's like life to you is a game. You can always say quit lah medicine, then I will start again. From the most downliner of a Zulian, sampailah saya boleh jadi upline banyak downliner. There's always a chance for you to start over again. Macam control, alternate, delete, okay, start lagi, reboot but kita tak boleh reboot dulu. Number 3, as my generation, you are not patient, faham tak? Macam traffic light kalau merah lama sangat, aku tak tahan lah, jalan dia saja, you know. When we used to macam ambil nombor kalau pergi dekat bank tu, nombor sekarang ni 117, nombor kita ni 227, kita duduk lagi 100 orang kita sanggup duduk tau. But you tengok, alamak banyaknya, I go belah lah, finish lah, besok lagi try again. The ability for you to concentrate in class also after half an hour you're already thinking of like, saya nak keluar ni. You're not able to concentrate for a long time. It is this generation. Sabar, hari ni kena kerja, besok kerja lagi ya. Alamak, resign je lah. The pushing factor is from within. But more important, there are a lot of pulling factor that pulls you out. Bermakna kawan saya kan tak payah ada degree jual Herbalife, earning 20,000 a month. What am I doing? Jawab kawan saya, jual property, beli rumah jual, dia jadi trainer. Macam mana nak buat duit, macam mana nak buat duit. Satu kali training seorang bayar 5,000. Dia cakap dengan orang, I earn $9,000 an hour. Bukan a day, $9,000 an hour, just to teach people how to make your money work for you. Why should you become a doctor, man? Why? Your friends are doing much better than you. You forgot why you enter medicine in the first place. Sekarang, saya nak tolong manusia lah, doktor tak cukup, apa semua. When times is difficult in houseman go to hell with other people lah. I cannot survive. Apa nak tolong orang lagi? Aku pun orang lain can go to hell. Really? There are times that you feel, why am I trying to help people when I myself cannot survive? Apa benda ni? Sabar, this is no good profession. Masuk syurga. Syurga? What was it? Apa dia macam, you know, nak pujuk masuk syurga pun aku dah tahu. Okay, asal syurga yang gendah-gendah pun tak apalah. So there are times in life that you are so in depressed mode that none of your ideals that you dream of is any longer a reality in your heart. And this is what you have to train in good times like this, so that it keeps the noble intention is kept alive even in difficult times. You know, you know lah, kadang-kadang abang, I like to tell stories of my success story. Wah, macam ni apa semua thing, how I did my exams, how I succeeded in doing postgraduate in a short while apa semua. I realized that in my life, yang the good stories that I tell people was actually mixed with a lot of depressive stories in my life, which I hide from giving motivational talk. I told my wife I should also include this, because no one should imagine after my talk that achieving success is so easy. There are times that I wanted to quit, there are times that I went into depression, there are times that macam really life was very miserable to me. And I should tell this story, macam so that people will say, you know, when you are struggling, people who succeeded also struggle in their life. That is the truth. So you look at this data, and you look at at how many people started with a good intention, was paid to study, took every poor man's money to come to Volvograd. Don't think that you are here for free. You know, you're here using every poor man's money in Malaysia. Just because you got scholarship means you study for free. No, it's wrong. And if you quit in this profession, you telah mengecewakan ramai orang miskin di Malaysia who actually paid tax to pay for your studies, including me. Mana I paid tax for you to study, and you use my money. You are using my money to study, and all that you did was 3 months of housemanship, and you quit. This is not fair to me, not fair to your parents, not fair to the taxpayers of Malaysia. Tak boleh, tak adil. So you must think about this. What does it mean you can get away in dunia? Kita akhirat saya akan tuntut duit saya yang di dunia. Everyone akan tuntut. Saya tak tahu lah, insyaAllah maybe saya kesian kat you all lah Tapi ramai orang yang akan tuntut tahu, because it's their money you're using now. and you have got to answer to each and every one of them. Kalau dah banyak buat amalan, pahala pun lambat masuk syurga. You kena jawab satu-satu. So don't fail this project. Jangan fail this project. If there's anything that you want to remember from me, this message you must remember. When you become a doctor nanti, it is not about you, your family, is about all the people who contributed to you being a doctor. All the people. So you must not fail them. Okay? Next. So again, the data kata orang yang majoriti yang meletakkan jawatan adalah graduan dari luar negara. Okay? Maknanya siapa yang graduan dari luar negara tu terasa sikit lah. Next slide. Okay, I ask you what is the cause. People write in their form stupid reasons ya. Tak berminat dalam kerjaya lah, masalah kesihatan, ada kesihatan mental lagi, kesihatan fizikal, apa semua kan. Ada doktor pun jadi gila. Apa tu? You know, the external examiner for CCMS in psychiatry is the psychiatrist dekat Sedang Hospital. Because at any one time I have got like 8 doctors under my supervision. Houseman yang jadi tak apa. Maknanya at any one time dia kena treat house officers. Maknanya for some reason or another. Maknanya it is actually a depressing job. Kat sini 20 berapa peratus ni? 71% alasan pribadi, mengalami tekanan, berhijrah keluar negara, bohong lah ni. Kelantan pergi Pulau Tioman, dapat tawaran, kenapa tawaran apa benda? Tawaran pekerjaan apa? Benda apa? Zulian, bohong lah semua ni. Dia just create some reason tu letak jawatan lah kan. Maknanya the truth is macam I don't know why I became a doctor in the first place lah menyambung pelajaran, ya lah tu. Pelajaran apa? Wealth management. Itu pelajaran dia. Let me tell you a story. Bila semua orang kan nak join CCMS, interview punya question apa dia? Kenapa jadi doktor? Kenapa jadi doktor? Wah, everyone got like macam very noble intention untuk nak pass interview. You all pun kena tanyalah soalan ni. Maknanya, and most of you will find reason. Wah, bestnya sebab ni untuk jadi doktor. Apa tu? Saya did not have a good reason kenapa saya nak jadi doktor. I really didn't know why I took medicine. Really, it was niat yang haram. Kenapa? During my time, masa MRSM, quite a lot of you from MRSM. Saya juga MRSM kan. So there was a class of 118 students yang set for SPM masa saya punya batch. So throughout Form 1 sampai Form 5 saya score semua. Dan ada kawan-kawan saya dalam kelas tu macam really tak pernah score dan tak datang kelas, tidur masa class hours apa semua. You know lah, MRSM banyak sangat budak jahat. Apa tu? Saya kata kan, kalau saya choose sama je bidang dengan diorang, saya ni sama je bodoh dan jahat macam diorang. So, masa tu, orang yang pandai sahaja berani untuk buat medik. Ada 7 orang daripada 118 orang tu, 7 orang je yang kata nak buat apa, medik. Sanggup tak pergi overseas. Orang lain yang bodoh-bodoh, yang tak berapa pandai, dia tulis apa benda entahlah, buat engineering lah, civil engineering, semua dapat fly. Semua dapat allowance, pakaian, beli jacket, tie, apa semua. Saya tengok dia dekat airport, macam nak nangis. Because I chose something out of stupidity. And all my cleverer, stupid friends became, chose the right thing and went overseas. Masa tu marah punya polisi kalau buat medik je mesti stay kat dalam negara, tak boleh pergi overseas. Marah kan dia change polisi every year kan. So masa tu tak boleh. So I really don't know why I did myself. I just wanted to boast to my friends that I was cleverer than them. Betul, itu. Bukan nak tolong manusia. Bukan manusia lah. I mean, adalah sikit dalam hati. I didn't like medicine. And I thought it was stressful. We had to learn so many things. I was like trying to remember things that I don't understand. Telah je sampai kembung turut, don't get scientist or whatever. Apa tu? But you know, through the years kan, I learned to love the profession. Saya tak mulakan medicine ni dengan niat yang ikhlas, dengan niat yang baik. niat yang mulia, tak apa. But I learn the profession through the time of studying. I learned that when I help people and people say thank you and appreciate, then I saw the smiles on their face. Aku semua think, wow, this reward is like macam sangat luar biasa. So when I was in 3rd year, 4th year, I became so passionate that I fell in love with the profession later on in life. Maknanya kalau sekarang ni, kalau ada lecturers, saya kutuk apalah ni student ni macam tak erti lah kenapa dia nak buat medicine kerana mak bapak ke. Saya kata tak apa, biarlah dia masuk medicine dengan kerana apa pun tak kisah, sebab saya dulu macam tu. But kita mengajar student ni, kita kena buat student tu supaya sayang and fall in love with this profession along the way. I fell in love with the profession so much that I brought my children right from the beginning to my work. I got married when I was 22 years old. Pre-clinical, nak masuk clinical, saya kahwin dulu baru masuk clinical. Apa tu, and I started having babies. Often my wife started to deliver, but I had the babies with anak saya jugalah. So maknanya saya tak ada masa untuk balik ke keluarga, dan saya bawa keluarga saya ke pekerjaan. I brought my children. My children was following me in my ward rounds. Masa saya jadi junior lecturer tu, saya marah student semua. Anak saya marah kat saya, kenapa marah semua orang? Macam ni, my children were not happy. I really took my children into my profession. When I was training for my MRCP Part 2, saya kena buat clinical examination every day sampai saya can buat CVS examination with both eyes closed. Buat cranial nerve examination macam without even thinking. Saya practice kat siapa? Do I have patients 24 hours? Tak. I have my children for 24 hours. So I practice on my children. My children remember the sequence of cardiovascular examination because I did it on them. I owe my passing to become a specialist to my children every day. And my children grew up in a medical environment sampai all 4 of my children became doctors in the profession. So my eldest graduated, my second final year, third semi-final year, and the 4th is in cyberchemistry second year. 3 out of 4 are married to doctors also. So I cannot go. My wife is disappointed because she's a dentist and she wanted at least one child to become a dentist. She lost. But back to asking yourself, because I don't have this answer for you. You must minat this profession so much that when you are in the worst of your situation, this thing in your heart brings you up from a falling position, wake you up there again, and you plod on every day and you survive, and you learn to love this profession so much that no one can distract you out of this perjuangan. And you reach, it's like macam a threshold that after you reach that threshold, you lepas saja, that's it. Your life is cool. You enjoy work every day. You enjoy work. I wanted that threshold to be very early on in my life. So I said, apa yang actually bothering me, it is the exams. Betul tak? Apa di examination ni? First undergraduate lah. Second is the postgraduate examination. Once you pass your postgraduate examination, you're a specialist kan? You run your life. You determine. You don't like to work with the government, you quit. There's a lot of money outside there. If money is what you want. Orang resign daripada government sampai jadi private ni bukan sebab nak duit sangat. But what is the advantage of being in private practice? You are your own boss. Dah tak panggil orang boss lagi. Orang yang panggil you boss. Faham tak? What do you need to do? Become a specialist as soon as possible. Then your life is finished. You determine what you like already. And the freedom of life is when you have no bosses. Betul. Yang buat miserable yang orang resign ni bukan sebab stres, dapat kerja zulia apa semua everything. It's because there are too many bosses bossing you around. You get through this part of life, you are your own boss, life is so enjoyable. Faham tak? You are a specialist lah. You say, I just want to work 3 days a week lah. The rest I want to take care of my babies while they grow up apa semua. Suka hati lah. You work as a pediatrician 3 days a week, you get $25,000 a month. good enough untuk makan dah, cukup makan dah. Betul tak? More than some people betul, no joke. Because I have a lecturer applying to join us as a pediatrician. My student masa I was teaching in IMU. So she went through very fast. Graduate, sit for the first opportunity of MRC PCH, and then sit for part 2 MU. Wah, dah jadi pediatrician. Work very hard. While working very hard, got a couple of child, 2 orang anak. Tak sempat masa dengan anak semua. Quit from the government, resign, jadi private practitioner, start to make a lot of money. And she said, alamak, kesian anak saya ni membesar tanpa ibu. So dia resign terus. Quit from her job totally, just to take care of these children. Once dia sort out dia punya life, he came back to me dekat Cyber University, kata, Prof, I want a job in Cyber University as a lecturer in pediatrics. Okay, but I don't want to work more than 3 days a week. Okay, we gave her a full-time equivalent to the job. Dia just kerja Monday, Thursday dengan Friday morning. Tu je. Then the rest of the time you take all the baby, have a nice time, walk, be holiday, apa semua everything. Fine. Why? Because she is her own boss. Dia boleh determine, I nak kerja 3 hari ke, 2 hari ke, 1 hari ke, suka hati aku lah. And to reach that threshold, you need a lot of sacrifice. For a short while. Itu je. So I decided, I said, I want to get rid of all this examination yang is in the hurdle of me determining that I'm my own boss. At 28 years old, I passed my exams already. So at 28 years old, I got my MRCP. Then there was an offer for me to do my PhD. I did my PhD by 32 years old. I had no exams for the rest of my life already. I determined. So bermakna, ya, maknanya for you, that is your plan. There is no, I told you, there is no other qualification yang the rule of the country guarantees you a job. This is the best field that you are in already. But you set your own goals. Jangan be bossed around for too long. Then your life will be miserable. Then you will start to letak jawatan. Okay, na'udzubillah. Next. Habis. Okay, thank you. Okay, again. Yang ditamatkan tadi last assessment kan, last assessment tu akhirnya ditamatkan lah. Also majoritinya adalah orang lelaki yang graduate daripada 2 negara ya. 75% daripada orang yang terminated from being a doctor adalah lelaki terakhir. Next. Ya, okay. Makin these are the figures from year to year. There's always about 0.1 to 0.25% orang yang terminated lah. Tapi kalau satu orang pun dia dah bagi a bad image to the institution lah. Next. Okay. So ditamatkan. Ni yang putih ni adalah daripada luar negara, ni adalah dari dalam negara. So majority of orang yang kena terminate daripada pekerjaan sebagai doktor, 81% adalah graduan daripada luar negara. Next. Dan kebanyakan dia adalah daripada Crimea, Kurds, Manipal, apa sebagainya. Okay, next. Bogat tak ada lah. Sebab saya bagi talk kat Bogat, dia Bogat tu dipadamkan. Kalau saya bagi talk kat Moskow, dia keluar Bogat. Okay. So, what are they trying to do dekat Ministry of Health? The mood now adalah there are too many house officers. We must stop them from being house officers, and we will be more strict in macam-macam benda ya. Maknanya for example, if you have 1C in any maths or sciences dalam SPM, you cannot enroll into a medical course. If you have 1C in maths atau maths not counted maths atau any sciences subject, you masuk juga medical school. When you graduate, nak dapat kerja nanti, they will look back at your SPM 6 years ago, and if you have C, you cannot work as a houseman. You will have a lot of problems. Okay, maknanya they just make life difficult so that less and less house officer can work, because there's too many house officers now. Yeah, then they will do compulsory HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C. Mana ada orang buat sebelum ni? Sekarang baru nak buat. You got hepatitis B lah, you cannot work as a houseman. Habis. Ni still a proposal, yeah? urine test for drugs lah. Semua orang nak kerja tak pernah kena test for morphine, opiate apa semua. You drug addict, you cannot work as a doctor. Siapa nak? Ni compulsive screening for major psychiatric illness. So you nak kerja sebagai doktor, you kena go for psychiatric assessment dulu apa semua. Kalau you gila tak boleh kerja. Semua ni masih proposal lagi from the Ministry of Health. Next. Okay, so now there is a moratorium and it will stay and it will be followed. Bermakna no more new medical schools in Malaysia, no more increase in quota of admission. Macam kalau dulu dia bagi 150 admission, dia tak boleh increase sampai 200-250 medical school, tak boleh ambil lebih ramai orang. Currently 5 days, tak boleh ada C. Future maybe dia kata orang yang ada 5A sahaja boleh study medicine. Bermakna kalau you ada 1B dalam maths atau 1B dalam sains, okay, tak boleh masuk medical school. Macam tak tahulah what you're going to do. I hope it doesn't happen. Now intake of HOs are based on availability of post. Okay, you need to understand this because it will affect you. Now, bila kita minta kerja housemanship, ada kursus induksi. Okay, nanti kita kata dia bagi choices of hospital dan dia tengok, dia akan bagi tahu hospital tu ada berapa tempat kosong di hospital itu. Faham tak? Kalau kita tengok Teluk Intan 5 tempat kosong, bermakna kita register hari ini, the next week you will start report for duty dekat Teluk Intan already. Okay? Kalau kata hospital Putrajaya tak ada tempat kosong, zero, you kata saya nak juga hospital Putrajaya, you wait dalam waiting list. Bermakna kalau ada tempat kosong dia nanti you nombor 20 ke apa, dia ambil nombor 1 dulu, tiba-tiba nombor 20 baru ialah you dapat kerja houseman dekat hospital Putrajaya. Maybe dia 3 bulan, 6 bulan, 1 tahun, ikut you lah. You nak kerja awal atau you nak kerja dekat hospital yang you nak. Kalau you nak kerja awal, you tangguh je lah terima mana-mana tempat kosong. Kalau you nak kerja, you got no hurry, you nak kahwin dulu, dapat anak dulu apa semua, you cari hospital yang susah nak dapat. Jadi, tapi tak ada gaji lah. Dan selagi tunggu tak ada kerja, tak ada gaji. So, this is the strategy. Beginning 2014 yang ni based on the availability of post. Okay, dah habis tak? Okay, slide pun habis. Okay. So, my last slide is some suggestions, but this is not golden rule. Tak ikut pun tak apa. This is just my thoughts, which I tell my students. Choose the right type of hospital. Saya dah cakap tadi. Maknanya the aim of choosing the right hospital adalah to survive housemanship and get your annual practicing certificate. Maknanya don't worry about how many appendix I can do lah kalau kerja dekat hospital Batu Pahat. How many hernia saya boleh buat apa semua. That one you do when you want to become a surgeon lah. Tapi apa guna boleh buat 20 appendix lepas tu resign after 6 months. Tak guna maknanya make good friends with the team, especially the nurses. So you make enemy with one nurse, you cannot sleep for the 3 months. Every small thing they will call you at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, benda yang diorang boleh settle. Just because they hate you, they will wake you up. Doctor, patient complain sakit lah. Do it. You have got to see the patient. You don't know what to do. So, because patient yang complain sakit, apa pun nak buat, then you dah habis your sleep already. Patient punya drip dia tersangkut bang. Dia boleh je reset, tapi dia nak you juga reset sebab dia tak suka you. Itu je. Don't make enemies. You cannot say, nurse, you dulu SPM pun grade B je. Belajar diploma 3 tahun je. Who are you trying to talk to a doctor yang graduate Volvo grab lagi? You cakap macam tu lah, habis lah. You besok pagi kena pijak macam cicak habis punya lah. You cannot make enemies. Because whoever the nurses are, they have worked at the hospital much longer than you have. So jangan tunda action, please. And this is unfortunate for the girls, because most of the nurses are the ladies. Orang lelaki dia mudah sikit, macam nurse more impressed with men. I think, I don't know, orang cakap okay, banyak, whoever lah, the nurses ke, the amah ke yang tolong cuci toilet ke apa, you make friends with them, please. and make friends with your colleagues. Jangan jadi musuh, ya. Learn what your seniors prefer and plan to follow their pattern. Bermakna, tengok specialist ni suka apa. Dia suka sangat update tentang apa, follow their pattern, ya. Plan your week and anticipate. Bermakna, jangan keep seperti hari ni tak boleh balik rumah lah. By the way, I'm on call. Alamak, baru petang ni on call, tengah ni baru realise that you're on call. Jangan. The element of surprises makes you miserable. Bila balik, oh besok tak boleh balik lah apa semua. Hari ni baru realise that tomorrow you're working on nights. Make your life miserable. So the beginning of the week, look at your timetable and say, okay, Tuesday I can do something, or Wednesday I can do anything, apa semua nanti. My weekend is this Friday sahaja, apa semua. Okay, you anticipate benda ni. And no element of surprise, you will survive better. Okay, don't make grand plans. Cakap dengan family, on Thursday night we're going out, we're going to celebrate birthdays, semua apa. For 2 years you don't do this. Betul. Don't make anything that you look forward to. Jangan. Oh, kita nak celebrate anniversary lah, anak kita punya birthday lah. Kalau dapat peluang dapat, kalau tak dapat pun you tak kecewa. Because you never make grand plans for 2 years of your life. Don't make anything that you will look forward to. Macam, wah tak sabar-sabar lah hari Jumaat malam ni, kita nak pergi nak take a break apa semua. Tiba-tiba dapat tahu Jumaat malam you kena cover untuk orang. Kecewa yang sangat luar biasa. Betul. Tapi you don't make any grand plans, you tak kecewa. And when you get a spontaneous day off, that's when you make your plan and you really enjoy yourself. Habis. So you have got to tell your family, let's be prepared for some surprises. I can be off anytime and let's go for a break. Go. Macam tu je. Tak boleh, oh I'm planning nak visit balik Volgograd sebab dah rindu kat winter apa semua. You can never get that chance. For 2 years. Only 2 years. Okay, after housemanship, you suka hati lah nak buat apa pun, ya. Withstand all emotional challenges. Remember that it will only be for 2 years. Try to sit for membership exam as early as you can. Please. This your kakak dan abang will try to help you with it, eh. Maknanya advice. Maknanya, if you have, I need to tell you this. If you have a membership examination part 1, when you habis the housemanship, when you are posted to a hospital, you boleh cakap dengan hospital punya pengarah, tolong saya nak buat medicine, saya dah ada MRCP part 1. Then you actually get posted to the medical unit. If you don't have anything, you report there, oh thank you, I have finished my houseman, I'm reporting to hospital daerah Ulu Langat ke whatever, if there's such a hospital daerah Kelang lah kata. Saya report duty ni, first day hospital daerah Kelang. Dia punya pengarah kata, oh by the way, kita ni tak cukup MO dekat forensik department bawah tu. Kau pergi posting forensik lah. You kena forensik for 6 months, you don't know what to do. Every day, your patients will not complain because they're dead. Or you kena potong mayat and smell all the mayat for 6 months, which you don't like. When you memang suka mayat, okay lah, tak apalah. And you go inside, in out of court. Every few months you go to court because you kena bagi expert witness on all the deaths that you have macam done all the forensic work. If you like that job, well, okay. But if you want to specialize in psychiatry, sampai tiba-tiba you end up in forensic, you also don't know what to do, kan? So you have got to have a bargaining card to do what you want. That's why you have got to attend the postgraduate exam as quickly as possible. And I will end, insyaAllah, by reminding all of us, the ultimate intention for all of us to be in this profession bukanlah medicine ni matlamat akhir kita, bukan. Tapi ia adalah wasilah atau a means to be in the highest of all places, iaitu Jannatul Firdaus. Ya? And our job memang cannot go wrong. And I tell this to all my students when they first come to meet me. I know I'm busting my time. Macam ni, I tell them the story of orang yang sesat dekat padang pasir dan sangat-sangat dahaga. Dan kemudian dia berjumpa dengan sebuah telaga dan dia turun dalam telaga tu dan hilangkan dia punya thirst. So happy sebab dapat air. Dia keluar daripada telaga tu dan dia jumpa seekor anjing yang keadaan sangat dahaga dan dia fikir, oh anjing ni pun dahaga macam aku tadi. Dia tahu anjing tu tak boleh masuk telaga, dia masuk dalam telaga tu, dia buka kasut dia dan dia cedok air dan dia bagi anjing tu minum. Apa kata Rasulullah SAW? Allah telah berterima kasih kepada orang ini dan mengampunkan semua dosa-dosa yang lepas dan masukkan dia ke dalam syurga Allah SWT. So can you imagine pahala orang yang tolong anjing dalam keadaan dahaga. Dan kita setiap hari bukan tolong anjing, tolong manusia. Manusia dalam kesakitan. Manusia yang kalau dia tak sakit pun, dia punya keluarga terpaksa park 1 kilometer kat luar hospital tu untuk jalan kaki untuk visit dia. Dia punya mak ke, dia punya nenek ke, dia punya siapa yang jaga dia tu terantuk kepala dia untuk jaga sebab boring gila. And you discharge this patient, you relieve the whole family from misery. Mana kembalinya orang ni? Syurga. Tak boleh end up in neraka. Cannot go wrong one. And you not only help one person, you help many people every day. So this is your ticket to Jannah. Don't resign from this profession. Don't forsake your ticket untuk jawab, aku dah dapat tiket dapat syurga, tak pernah kau ambil lah, aku pandai-pandai cari tiket lain. Don't waste this opportunity, because it's just a threshold. You decide which age you want to release yourself from the threshold, then you live happily ever after. Finish. Living happily ever after does not happen in fairy tales sahaja. It will happen in your lifetime, and your profession will take you into this condition where you call living happily ever after, insyaAllah. Wallahu alam, aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Wallahu rasulullah alam bisawab. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.